Welcome to Ben's Business Podcast, episode number 82. I'm here with Bernie Petrie, and her name now is Bernadette Petrie.
It was always.
And it was always Bernadette Petrie. She just changed it throughout her life to Bernie, and we were discussing that.
Yeah, we'll discuss that.
So today I'm in North Berwick with Bernie.
Mm-hmm.
My coach I've learned a lot from in terms of intuition, how to love ourselves and trust ourselves. And Bernie is the Soul's life coach. She started the Barefoot Ambition and the Barefoot Sanctuary here in North Berwick, and author of the new book, Permission to Shine. And you see I've been reading it in depth with all my tabs and highlights. And I met Bernie and was coached by Bernie about, what was it, 3 years ago? 4 years ago, maybe now?
Just I think I've moved here, so it was 3 years ago.
And I bumped into Bernie. I'm going to call you Bernie, it's easier for me. Bernadette in North Berwick at a networking event.
Yeah.
And I remember I was at a time where I was at a point where I wasn't trusting my intuition as much. I didn't understand what I was doing.
Yeah.
But Bernadette had this. I had a good feeling about what Bernadette was teaching in her sort of elevator pitch when we were speaking up at networking, and I had a really good feeling about that's what I needed to learn. I didn't know what it was, but I followed the feeling that you talk about in your book.
Yeah.
And I trusted that feeling, and we met up and did a sort of barter between our services in a way. I helped Bernadette with her web design and changing web pages on her Barefoot Ambition website, and in exchange I was coached on that side that I was missing in how I was going about my day to day. And I experienced a lot of changes by going through all the coaching. So what Bernadette is good at is the ability to help us love ourselves, trust our own intuition, and basically as a result have more confidence. And I think that's why it's so important. I'm bringing her onto this podcast, which is a business podcast, that business owners need that trust in their gut, trust in their intuition to follow through, especially as business and leaders. We need that ability to move forward and keep growing business. And I think we need to grow our businesses and we need to grow ourselves.
Yeah, and the two, it's like if the work you do yourself ultimately benefits your business.
Yes.
So the two, it's a win-win.
Yes.
It's always a win-win.
Yeah.
And it's a lose-lose.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And
totally.
Regarding the book Permission to Shine,
yes,
I had been reading through it, and I definitely think if you read it and you're human, you're going to have some unconscious thoughts come up, and you can get very emotional going through the book because you're reminding us about these thoughts throughout our life. Yeah. And I found I've taken a lot of action on some of the exercises you put in the book, and I've benefited massively from it in my personal life and business life, because when I read a book, I tend to read a book, get up and go and do it. What you tell what's
well, that's
been told
good
to do.
You're doing exactly what it's meant to do.
I follow through, So I like to. So it's taken me a long time to get through the book, but I've been actually implementing some of the areas of the book, so I found it really helpful.
Wonderful. Well, the feedback I've had so far is that some people read it cover to cover in like a day or whatever. Other people are picking it up, flicking it, picking a chapter and reading that chapter, and it seems to whatever. And so neither are incorrect. It's exactly. I mean, I would obviously recommend reading it through first and then using it, because I use it daily as well. And obviously now we've got the cards, the flower cards. So it's hopefully it's like a coach, your own coach with you, and to tap into your own inner coach, because we all, nobody has more insight into your own life as to your inner wisdom. And we all have that.
I agree. I agree now. But remember when Bernie first started coaching me and attempted to get me to meditate and try out all these, using some of her vocabulary, which I didn't use, I was definitely resistant at first. But I do feel you've won me over to that side, and I do feel like I was being, even after I moved away from North Berwick, we didn't stay in touch as long. I continued on that path of spiritual growth and enlightenment. So
and then life will. It's almost like life is going to do it for you anyway. You know, it's like once you open a door, open an awareness to something, you basically just let it in, and you can't shut it out again, and you can't. And actually, you just start to realize that life is always teaching you, and life is always, trying to help you become more you. So you've got to trust that life that we're all on.
And I liked it was about that part that you said in the book about how the struggles in our life are such an important start to the process.
Oh, without a doubt.
So you have to have sort of pain before that process starts.
Yeah, I think I don't think any human being on this earth gets life. It wouldn't be a human life if there weren't challenges and struggles and resistance. Obviously, a lot of people have deal with challenges that are coming from out with them, and a lot of us though have challenges that are caused because of the perspective we have, what we've absorbed, how we think people think of us, what the narrative that we've told ourselves. So and then because of the narrative we've told ourselves, we're not if we're tuning into a narrative, we're not able to necessarily be fully present with a challenge that actually, because life is going to have challenges. So you can see people who have loads and loads of challenges in life, but are so present, so compassionate with themselves, and they get it. They get that life isn't necessarily meant to be like being on holiday. It's not a vacation. We're on an adventure. So
it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No, it's more. I always think of Chewbacca and from Star Wars and Harrison Ford. And they're there in their ship. That's all you first see them. You don't know where they've come from. You don't know where they're going to, and they just seem to deal with challenges. And they're like, even though it would seem really terrifying, they're like, all right, we're on it again. We're going. They just have this that they know that life has, that they've got what they've got in them to deal with the scariest of things. So,
I'm just going to check who's live with us just now. So we've got a few people live,
and
I'm just going to make sure. Can everyone give me a comment just to say yes if you can hear us? Okay, because I've got a slightly different setup as you can see today because I've moved all the way out to North Berwick. Same on Instagram. Just double check that this is all okay. Yeah, that's fine. So first question, just to get to a structure. So I was just wanting to know, like, what got you started on all of this? Like, what brought us here today, and what originally got you started on all of the Barefoot Ambition and writing the book?
I think honestly, I could, if think of Steve Jobs and dots, I could look back and see that my whole life has been building up to this, to right now. Every single thing that happened to me, or every single experience I had, led up to it. So I was always meant to be a writer. I was always meant to be a coach. That was going to be an inevitability based on that. And I think, depending on people who are listening, there's a certain point, certainly in my life, where I lost the magic of dreaming, of believing that the world was my oyster. And I would get little glimpses, like when I graduated. On the day I graduated, I did much better than I thought I was going to do. And I remember thinking, the world is my oyster. And then very suddenly it didn't feel like that. I was temping in London, working in a bar, sleeping in a mattress with Australians who were on an adventure, but it was, for me, felt really grim. And that I suppose deep inside, that those points of deep unhappiness, I would be like wanting, sort of praying that something else was, that life was meant to be more joyful. That no matter, I wanted to be the person that in any situation was happy to be in the situation in the UK. I wanted to get to a place where I was just so fully present with wherever I was. So like right now, right here, I'm not thinking there's anywhere else I need to be. But a lot of my life wherever I was somewhere, I was always thinking
Okay.
about being somewhere else.
Right.
So I think and I think it's like we're all, if we're honest with ourselves, we're all curious about who we truly are. We're all curious about the bigger questions about the meaning of our human existence. And
Yeah.
and I guess I've always been very curious about that, even as a little girl. You know,
Yeah.
I loved when we had missionary people came to the chapel, and I just loved their sense of wholeness and compassion.
Right.
So yeah, I've always been sort of craving that
Okay.
self-acceptance, I suppose.
Self-acceptance, right?
Mm.
Okay. And I feel like I'm very curious in the same way that you are. When I observe other people and see that there seems to be something in each person. I guess that's a unique quality of yourself, that you're so curious.
Yeah.
Because I don't see as many people as sort of curious and open-minded and kind of wondering in my day-to-day.
Yeah. Well, I think we all have strings to our bow, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or we all have we're all given gifts or tools, or
Yes.
when you're on this earth adventure, these are your magic tools.
Okay,
and
yeah.
I think mine has been curiosity.
Okay.
And when I'm not curious about something, that's telling too.
Yeah.
It's like, because I remember going for an interview when I was in my 20s, wanted to change industry. I was in sales, and I went into an interview and I didn't ask any questions. And it was like, the reason was because I didn't want to do it.
Right.
I was going to be.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, I was doing keyhole. It was going to be selling keyhole surgery equipment to surgeons, and I just couldn't see myself
Right.
at all. And I was going to have to go and, operate on animals with the vet to learn understand it. And I just was like, no. So I remember she was like, you didn't ask any questions. And I was like, I know, I just don't obviously want to do it. And I didn't even know that. But so the curiosity, and now I can look back and realize, I didn't want that. And so the curiosity, if it's not there and it's something, so whatever you have, whatever tool you have naturally, if you find yourself not being whatever it might be, that's feedback as well.
That's good. It's feedback to say that it's not what you should be doing.
Because your natural curiosity would be leading you towards something.
And I said something the other day that I was kind of questioning what's the next part to it. So I said determination is not a gift or
I saw you
talent.
said that.
It will come to any person that has a burning desire. And I wanted to ask, because I came across a part about desire in your book, Permission to Shine, and I wanted to ask, how do you create? Because there's definitely, again, observing people, there's people who have burning desires and they're going after this plan and they have something, and there's people who they admire these people who have burning desire, but they don't actually have it. It seems like they don't have a burning desire themselves.
Yes.
But what I want to ask you is, what I'm questioning is, does everyone have a burning desire, and is it just hidden?
Gosh, that's a good question. I think we all have a calling, if you like, or a purpose, but that purpose is so unique for every single person. And you can be. It's like when something matters to you, just inside. You might not even be able to explain it. You just, I just feel I have to do this. I know I have to do this. That's your soul's determination, I guess, or your or eternal self's determination. Because we did, I believe we did come here with an intention of things we were going to experience, challenges we were going to face, and a way that we were going to try to be. So that determined, that it's almost like the soul is more determined. Source is more determined than our ego. So it will, whatever you're meant to do in life, I believe, or whatever you're meant to experience, whatever you're meant to come here for, it will happen. We can help it out by tuning in to nature, becoming incredibly aware of the power of our egoic mind, and actually really getting in touch with our body, our senses, our stomach, our heart, all of those things. Yeah. So.
And do you have any tips or potential ways that people, how can people find their desire? Like if they feel almost aimless and they don't have this like vision like everyone else they see are going after something, how does someone find that?
Well, that's where curiosity comes in.
Yes.
Because you can just trust what you're curious about.
Okay.
So that's why curiosity is such a powerful thing. Because if, like, for example, when I was saying I wasn't curious enough to pursue that, so I needed to listen to it. But I was in my very first job coming out of university was selling commercial wall coverings, and I was incredibly curious about it because I just was like drawn to the color. So you just allow yourself, you feel yourself. It's like, we are magnetic kind of individuals.
Yeah.
We feel ourselves being pulled to people, to podcasts, to books, to just conversations, and we just have to pay attention to that. But we have to quieten down all the you should be doing, and this is what's right, and this is the way that business is going, because none of that should have any weight on you compared to what your own individual. And it's like, it might be that you like I remember years ago very vividly walking home from a dinner party or something with my husband, and we were having this kind of row about passion, and he was discussing somebody who's really passionate about something, and I was really offended. This was prior to the Priory and everything, and I realized that if people are in a depressed state, or if they're doing something that is really draining their body, it will feel impossible for them to feel passionate. If they're very much in their head, if they're being mean to themselves, the passion can't get through, or the desire or the curiosity can't get through, because they're so dog tired. So that's why being kind to yourself, loving and cherishing who you are, and just taking a little step every day to really ask yourself, as if you're speaking to a little child, hey honey, what do you feel like doing today? What do you feel like doing? And that little micro steps, so that we're really tuning into all parts of ourselves, like the little child, the teenager, the wise eternal part, and letting those things come. So it's like little questions. What do you really feel like? Who do you feel like contacting? What do you feel like having for lunch? What do you feel like wearing to today? If you tune in about what do you really feel like wearing when you go to a meeting, again, all these sorts of things are helping you to really listen to yourself. And then from there, it just becomes obvious. It just becomes more obvious. And the more you get to know yourself, so there's lots of great I talk about this in the book, where contact 25 of your closest friends and family and ask them to tell you your three best qualities.
I did that experiment. It was really
it's
interesting.
really, isn't it? And allow yourself to lean into those. Allow yourself to, so if somebody says your best qualities are curiosity or whatever, just start to act like a curious person, and you're reactivating your natural default.
Because these people, I think you said they needed to know you for a certain amount of years, or
you need to
be quite close.
5 years even. People move and change and stuff, but people that you seem to have had an interaction with, where you just you feel like you've been yourself. People that you've worked with, or people that have worked with you for 5 years, they're going to see you interacting with other people. And your family as well. So it's really for me, it was incredibly bang on. I'd already gone through a massive shift and realized those things about me. So it was really interesting to hear them, and very validating.
It's validating
from family.
like you're saying.
But then you lean into them and you be those
Use
qualities. Them, be more you.
That was a very helpful experiment for me, because and
what did you get? What did they say?
Determination came up.
Because
determination.
Which is why, because you are incredibly determined, and yet so you don't realize how determined you are. And that's what it's like. But it's like a natural thing for you.
So determination and the ability to take maybe complex knowledge, information, and simplify it, communicate in a simple way. That kind of came up a few times. Sport, like running and football, and just natural sport. There was a few things came up, so it was interesting. What would you say?
Yeah, I would say determined.
Okay,
Incredibly determined, and that sort of. Well, I think you're curious. I mean, your curiosity from my relationship with you, it's like you've always been. It's always been questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say very determined, very curious, and self-aware.
Okay.
Yeah, very self-aware. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think I got the curious one came up as well, and it's something I knew about myself because of all the questions. But that's a very good answer.
Yeah, cool.
So whatever I think nailing that down to like a sentence is burning desire. How to create a burning desire is figuring out what you're naturally curious about.
Yeah.
And following through on that and seeing, maybe testing it out.
Yeah. Well, where it takes you. It's like, what do you desire today?
Yes.
Whether that's eating, whatever you're watching, whatever you're doing. If you ignore what because everybody has a desire.
Yeah.
You might, whether it's to stay in bed all day long and watch Netflix, or to be outside, or to travel. We all have a desire, but a lot of times, many people quash their desires because maybe they think it's selfish, or they have to because of economics or different things, challenges that we all have. But it's like if you feel like you're that person, it's like, okay, well, my message, you do have choices. Life every day is a fresh day. So what do you desire today?
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then just incrementally build.
Right. I see.
And it'll become clear. That's where the doodles, I'm going to lift these cards up.
Yeah.
I desired, when I was in the Priory, I doodled every single day.
Yeah.
Because I desired to feel.
Just turn it around.
Oh yes, we'll show you a flower. Yeah. They weren't like this. They were actually paintings. But my desire to draw and express, and just to use color. I've always been really drawn to color.
Yeah.
And I sold wallpaper, and it was purely because it was colorful. That's why I was like, I have no idea about the industry, but I love all those colors. And then the next thing, I'm in that industry for 50 years. It's like it was my color and curiosity. And I learned, you learn a lot about yourself. I mean, I wouldn't be able to be a writer and a coach without having been in that business world and been in all that thing. I learned so much about myself and that. So just incrementally, just pay attention to what floats your boat. And if you don't feel drawn to something, that's feedback. Like I remember wanting to try and make beaded jewelry, and I just didn't enjoy it. And it was like, it's okay. It's okay not to enjoy doing something.
What I wanted to share as well about on all of this about curiosity and desire, which seems to be the topic, is it reminds me of a lot of people who watch people online who are succeeding, starting podcasts, really doing well and becoming influential. So influencers, and what Bernie just said, that it's okay not to do the same as them. You take your own, so like understanding your own path's much more important than seeing what's popular and following the trends. And that makes
because
so much sense.
You can never speak the way somebody else speaks. You can never present it. So if you try to emulate, and I remember hearing Oprah talk about this. Oprah Winfrey, obviously, everyone in the world knows who Oprah Winfrey is. But when she started out as a newsreader, she tried to emulate another newsreader, and she kind of spoke in her voice, and then she just stopped. And the rest is history, And she realized that actually I just can be myself. So I think. And I struggled with that a lot. I think from Northern Ireland, going to college in England, working in Scotland, I changed my voice for people could understand me and different things. And then I thought it maybe would sound better if I sounded a bit more eloquent. But in the process of changing one part of you change, because you think it's not good enough. Not if you don't judge it, it's fine. You can be a better dancer, all of those things, whatever, self-improve. But if you change yourself because you fundamentally don't think you're good enough, who you are, you're dulling your light. And you're turning yourself into one of the crowd. And you didn't come here to blend in.
Exactly. And that's definitely the theme I'm getting through your book is all about being comfortable in your own skin. and I love that message. The book gives you as well is it's very freeing. If you know, that's what comes to my mind is to explain the book as a whole. It's very freeing because it gives you the guidance to be comfortable as yourself.
Yeah, well, and I honestly, if every single person on this planet allowed themselves to be themselves, oh gosh, you know that's a future.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. Yeah,
nice to see. Yeah.
And we've got a few people live, so Paul Woods, Gemma, and probably the whole family's watching because my daughter watches at the same time. So
hey,
hi Iona,
hi guys.
Ver and Don. Yeah, if you have any questions for Bernie regarding anything we spoke about.
And we can pull a card for people too.
And
course,
we can pull a card in for you, and you can ask questions around it. So please put in any questions in the comments, and Bernie will answer them.
Cool, excellent.
If that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
I tell people all the time about, and I would like you to share it, the grow your own onions concept. I tell people that all the time now because it's brilliant. But do you want to explain it to people?
Yeah, so the concept, I can't remember where I heard the word grow your own onions. You kind of pick up these things in different ways. But essentially, if you're, it's very easy for our ego to fixate on somebody else's problems, what they're doing wrong, what their relationship, their career, their business. And it's all about, and it's not necessarily, it's even if it's from a place of love or whatever, if we're overly focusing on someone else's journey, we're forgetting that we're going to grow our own onions. So it's like, when you're gardening, you've got to, if you were gardening and every time you were meant to be doing what you're doing, you're constantly looking at the gardener next door and water that, your own onions are being neglected. So our own onions being our own, I guess, our own baggage.
Okay.
Our own shames, our own shadows, our own dreams, our own everything about that's from within us. We have to focus on that because everything that we experience in the world is a reflection of that.
Yeah.
We have to grow our own.
Yes.
Is that how you remember?
Yeah, that's how I remember it, and I've never said it better than that in my own way. I've said it in my own way, but the source came from Bernie, and it's a really good lesson because you told me it in the moment when I was trying to change or bend someone's beliefs, if you know what I mean. So I realized that it's very much a human trait that we all do it in some way where we have this need to help what we can't do is we can't make people what we want them to be. We have to let them be who they are and be who we are, and like you say, focus on our own onions, our own self, grow ourselves, and people follow or they won't. Yeah,
because the thing is, if we grow our own onions, we won't have an agenda of what we want people to be. We'll accept people for who they are. If we want people to be a certain way, it's our own shit.
Yeah.
It's because we're not growing our own onions.
Yes.
We're not pulling our own weeds out.
Yeah.
Our onions are covered in weeds, and they're because every single person has their own purpose, their own path. They're exactly where they're meant to be. Our judgment of that is a sign that we have something internally is being triggered, which is a good thing because then we can go look at it and go, okay, so if we find ourselves frustrated or angry or resentful towards people, generally that's a sign that we've got to forgive ourselves for something that we've done in the past or something else, that something's happened to us. So that's why it kind of gets us. And then honestly, it's like, if you think about God, whatever you believe is responsible for all of that, it's not trying to make us be anything. It's totally delighted with exactly how we're doing. So we have to hopefully embrace that for ourselves, and then the more we embrace that for ourselves, the more we find we're at peace with wherever people are. It doesn't, and then miraculously things will shift for that person when you're not trying to change them. And they can, because people can feel that. People really feel our, as we're all energetic beings, so people feel what we're thinking.
Yes.
So, we need to make the thoughts good.
Yes, you think So if you thought your thoughts were private, then
yeah, they're not. They're not. I know that's the thing. Our thoughts aren't private because we're sending out a vibration, and people can feel it. They can, it's like you say, you had a good feeling. You have a bad, you can feel judged, and sometimes we've got it wrong. People say, "Oh, you're judging me," and they weren't judging you. That's just you're judging you. So again, that's why we just had to get back to our own onions.
Yes. Yeah,
we're good.
And I realised that lesson big when I was trying to help someone who seemingly needed help, but they didn't need my help, and I tried to help them, and they didn't ask for my help, and I was trying to help and overdo it, and I learned that lesson and internalized that lesson, and even did that after you told me the Grow Your Own Onion story. I still forgot it temporarily, and then did it.
Yeah, of course.
And then I realised Grow Your Own Onions. Then later on, that person fixed themselves. Yeah. Miraculously, like you're saying.
Yeah, because no one can fix you. We're not. I don't think we're broken, but no one can save another person. Yeah. It's like we all have. We have to. It has to come from within us. Yeah. And we can get lots of support without a doubt, but that
guidance, like from books and
people.
mentors.
But it's always like. It's like, what do you think inside? Yeah. What do I feel? Yeah. Is the because otherwise, you're just like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? And it's like, Marianne Williamson, who some people may have heard, she's going to start being more on mainstream news because she's running for president as a Democrat. When she ran for the Senate, I think, or 6 years ago, and she was asked by Oprah, what would you do differently if you were ever in this situation again? And she said, I would only listen to myself. Okay. Because we give away our power. Now that doesn't mean that you won't ask people for their opinions, but then you come back and you're like, okay, this is my decision. And an MD has to do that. Everybody in their own business has to do that. Mm-hmm. They can gather information, but then they have to come back and tune into their intuition and make a call that feels they'll know it's the right call because it'll feel good. Yeah,
as the word or the phrase is, make the executive decision, and like you get feedback first. Yeah. Before you just move, so you get your intuition, you get some feedback, and then you come back and ask your intuition again, and move ahead.
I always check in with you as the last port.
Yeah. I shouldn't be asking you for that.
But we all do it. It's like sometimes it's Groundhog Day. We all are. We forget, and then we remember, and then we forget, and we remember, and then we just. But that gives us a chance to be compassionate with ourselves when we forget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, there we go.
Okay. So on that topic, one of the questions I had was how. I can probably remember to connect the dots and trace back, but you helped me get on that track of trusting myself. Yeah. Where I was asking everyone else. Yeah. Right? So how does someone get on track with that to be the to trust themselves more?
Well, it would be to act on what your body was telling you. Yeah. And basically trust. You have to. Whereas we go, but he'll know better, or they're more qualified. Yeah. At some point, we have to choose to listen to the voice within. Yeah. And when we listen, you won't know until you listen to what unfolds.
Okay.
We're
back again.
Yay!
I'm just going to double check. So we'll continue with the interview. We just had a wee bit of issue with Wi-Fi there. I'm just checking to see if we're live. Okay. Yeah, we are. Okay, I'll share this into the book club so we can get some live viewers again.
Excellent.
Okay, so let's continue.
Yay! Hello, if you've just joined us, or if you've been very patient, well done. Hope you've got a cup of tea now.
Yes. So what's your kind of big goal and purpose of the whole, the book, the Barefoot Ambition? What's the big why? The big goal, the big why.
Definitely, 9 years ago, I realized that we are all the light of the world. We are all we are much, much more than we realize. We're, you know, one of the cards in the chapters in the book is your story hides the real you. And I guess my intention is to help people. I'd like to liberate people from their own story, but more so, I've been trying to liberate myself from my stories that I would tell myself, and you know, by doing that, it has a knock-on effect on other people.
Okay.
So yeah, I want to be as present as I can. I want to be. I want to share the message because I think people are ready to hear it. Okay. I want to share it with whoever's wanting to listen, and if people aren't, I totally respect that, because nobody ever came shouting at me with a message. And I can see that life leads us perfectly to where we're meant to be. So yeah, I want to continue to grow out of my comfort zone and just to see and experience people loving who they are.
Okay.
So,
yeah. So initially it was for you.
100%.
And or it's always been for you, but by being looking after yourself, it's having a knock-on effect to everyone else.
The kinder I am to myself, the more knock-on effect it has. Yeah. And the more I grow my own onions, to go back to that one, and the more that I question my thoughts, then the more present I am, and the more it affects everybody. Yeah. And the more that I tune into my own intuition, the better it is. So again, it's a win-win. Yeah.
Because the way that I approached you was I was attracted to what you had to say. You just put your message out there, and it was up to me to trust and follow that feeling. Yeah. I could probably do with some help. Yes. And it's for people to step out and actually say that and take action on it on their own gut is what will happen over time. The more that you put yourself out there.
I mean, I work with people on a one-to-one basis. I tend to work with people for about a year now. That would be the sort of minimum 6 months, 12 months maximum, because then I want them to go and fly. Right. And during that year, it's about helping people to trust and tune into themselves. Yeah. And then that's what we were born. We were born with that, and so it's just reconnecting to that part of ourselves. Yeah. Yeah, because once you're out in the real world, like people go to workshops and they almost feel like the workshop's going to save them. And when they go out into the real world, they've got the real world again. Yeah. And shit happens. Yeah. And they've got to actually deal with that. And they have to tune into that, because if you can't tune into that, you almost feel alone. You do. Oh, you know what I mean? Absolutely. Yeah. You really do. And that was interesting. You were talking about earlier that your ego was trying to get you to walk a certain way. And that would have been so that you go, I'm really alone.
Yeah, exactly.
And whereas you go along the high street, you look into the eyes of another human being, you realize you're not alone. Yes. We're not alone. Yes. It's impossible. That's why I'm making eye contact. And that's why literally when you go to buy something in the shop, that you look the person in the eye, and you meet yourself in that person. And in a coffee shop, anywhere we're doing, the more present we are, the more we are tuned in to that intelligence, that global intelligence, that universal intelligence that will steer us as the car we pulled in the brake, so that we can enjoyably follow our own road.
We can't always have someone with us all the time. We can't have Bernie with us all the time. And I had to get around that. People who have coaches have to get around that. They have to break away from their mentors and go off and do it on their own. And that experience is the best experience. You're beginning that trust in yourself, and you're starting to create things from your own thought, action, and the result is all created purely from yourself. And once you get that first win, that starts the momentum I've found for myself and others that I've kind of been teaching from what I've learned from you and others, that when we get a bit of a win from our own first thought
Yeah.
and put it into action,
Yeah.
that's a great way to get started on this.
Yeah. And it's just like that. So it's those tiny steps, baby steps.
Yeah.
You know, how does the baby learn to walk? She doesn't just get up and run, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, you just take baby steps, you fall, you take baby steps. And so learning to really trust your intuition. When most of us have been, not many of us have been taught to trust our intuition. We've been like constantly getting, you know, be careful messages, or, you know, you have to do this, and this to get ahead in life, or you've got to get there. And, you know, I hate that expression, get there.
Yeah.
It's like, because nothing's
There's
ever
no
happening
there.
other than right now. And
Yeah.
for me, one of my biggest goals is to be happy here now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Be here now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're.
Oh yeah.
It's
Okay.
Effective for.
Yeah. It's if it dies on Instagram, you'll just have to go over to Facebook. Everyone has Facebook, so yeah, that was really. There was a part in your book about having a picture of your 4-year-old self.
Yeah.
And I really liked that idea. That
Yeah.
Could you explain what the reason for that was, and why it's so important to
Sure.
take a picture of your 4-year-old self and place it where you can see it?
Sure. So effectively, the picture we have when we're 4, I think from my experience, we are you can watch little children and you can see them, and they're so tuned into themselves, particularly if they are like in nature a lot and they're not surrounded by lots of gadgets and stuff.
Okay.
They're very intuitive, and they everything happens intuitively. But when we go into school, most of us in the UK start school, and globally we start school at 4 years old, and that's when we are shifting away from what we personally feel, you know, get sense to do, our curiosity, our natural gifts, and we're in an environment where we compare ourselves to others. We look at other children, we instantly compare ourselves. I mean, I did it from such a young age, and we start judging ourselves. We judge our bodies. Women in particular are really hard on their bodies. I know men are too. We judge everything about us, and we want to try and change ourselves. And so we can go through life wishing ourselves away. So by having a picture of your 4-year-old self front and center, my sort of quest is that you will speak to yourself, and you speak to that 4-year-old self as if you speak to yourself as if you were speaking to that 4-year-old self. And you wouldn't, you know, if you were speaking to a 4-year-old child now, there would be a softness to your tone. You would listen, you would make eye contact.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that I'm asking people to do for themselves, because inside each and every one of us, that 4-year-old self doesn't go away. You know, we were 4, we were 5, we were 6, we were 7. All of those ages are still here. You know, sometimes you can get triggered back and you feel like you're 4, and that's when you can maybe be afraid of people, or you clam up. It's because your 4-year-old self is feeling lost, feeling alone. So by speaking to having that picture of ourselves, we connect with that 4-year-old inside of us, and we bring him or her back into a safe place, so then we can be more fully ourselves. Because we're shattered into many pieces, I guess. That's a bit that feels broken. We're broken away from all parts of ourselves, all ages of ourselves. So yeah, I haven't had one person yet that I've coached, that I've worked with, that hasn't found that a fundamentally changing time when they look in the mirror and they speak to themselves as if they're 4 in a compassionate way, and it changes everything.
And how would they speak to themselves in the mirror in that way? So as if it was a 4-year-old.
Yes, if it was a 4-year-old. So if you have the picture of yourself up, you say, you know, so you'd be, hey sweetheart, how are you today? And you did really well, and you look sad, and what can I do to help you? And literally, you know, it's a very private conversation, but we need to be that coach for ourselves.
Yes.
You know, we need to, the layers of the onion layers are all of those parts of ourselves. Yeah. So having that 4-year-old self picture around you, you wouldn't swear at a 4-year-old. You wouldn't call it stupid. You wouldn't, you know, I mean, I don't know about you, but I used to sort of go, oh God, I'm such an idiot, I'm so stupid, and I would be really cross with myself. And I don't use those words anymore. I haven't used those words for years. I don't.
Okay.
And it has made a huge difference in terms of self-compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, if anybody's a parent or has siblings or cousins or whatever, or just you're in and around young people, if you're speaking to yourself like that, you're also sending that message out to them. And if you speak to your 4-year-old self in a mean way, you're rejecting parts of you that are evident in your children as well. So that's why if we aren't loving and being kind to ourselves, we are basically saying to our siblings and children that you're not good enough as well.
Yeah.
And that's horrible.
Mm.
And we don't have to live that way.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
Mm. So that's what that's all about.
Okay.
Get them up.
Pictures.
And and you sort of it activates a memory of how free you felt at 3 and 4, and how beautiful your smile was, and how present you were, and that childlike wonder can return. And because we're not meant to grow up, it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's most often, it's like, how can we remain fully ourselves as we become adults?
Yeah, and that rarely happens.
Yeah.
And you talked about the onion layers. That was actually another thing I was really interested in.
Yeah.
You talked about it never ends.
It never ends.
So
No.
What I mean by that.
Unfortunately, no, or fortunately.
Yeah.
It never ends.
It came up in your book. So what Bernadette was talking about is that our ego, our fears, our beliefs, limiting beliefs, are all these layers, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And as we do these processes that you're teaching, read through the book, and we're kind of your book forces us to think about those layers and beliefs.
Yeah.
And you're kind of peeling them off as you're going through your book, I would say.
Yeah.
So you're becoming more sort of I was working, and I was becoming more sort of aware.
Yeah.
More aware of.
Well, that's why we go through
beliefs.
the love and cherish bit first, because that's a fundamental foundation.
Yes.
About really, returning back to loving that part of you.
Yeah.
And then you're ready to move on to seeing your future and permission to shine.
Yeah. So we're going through these layers, and what I wanted to ask you is, I feel like I've gone through so many layers, especially since I met you and went off on my own journey and done a few workshops since. We're peeling off layers and layers, but it's almost unlimited. There's no end to it.
No.
Would you agree with that?
I completely agree. I mean, people who are perceived to be incredibly successful, I've heard lots of these people been interviewed, and they will always say, particularly the ones that I admire, that they are constantly needing to put themselves out of their comfort zone, that they feel scared still to do things. They know they can do it, but if they didn't have that sense of discomfort or that sense of nervousness, that means they don't care anymore. So that means there's another layer to appeal. And also, you could be all singing and dancing in one, but we're all blessed with complicated, we've all got a history, we've all got family, we've got friends, we've got things that they maybe we're not going to resolve everything in like that. So life enables you to then have opportunities to resolve other parts of your life.
Yes.
So it's just constantly, and it's a lovely thing. And then obviously everyone in your life is always evolving and changing, and that again will trigger. So your children don't stay the same age. Your health doesn't, your body doesn't stay the same. So you're constantly having to evolve and roll with it. So
because throughout life you're being wounded in those ways. And they then become part of your system. And the programming. Because there's that idea of the individuation, which is like 0 to 7. Your 0 to 7 is when your ego's created in a way.
Well, 0 to 7 is when you're most sponge-like. So from 0 to 7, you literally are like a computer programming, and everything that goes in shapes who you are. Which is.
But that continues throughout our life,
and
we're still wounded throughout life, and we still need to. One of the ways that I've been taught is we're weeding the ego, we're weeding out those sort of beliefs.
Yes.
And that was where I was kind of getting to. So
But that's why you see you get triggered, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And it means because something from maybe when you're younger is now ready, you're now ready for that to be resolved.
Okay.
And it's now time for it to shift, because you'll always, whatever is coming up for you, has to be cleared so that you can be that person that you're always meant to be. So generally when you're growing or you're about to, as your business is expanding, there's going to be stuff that comes up.
Yeah.
And that's actually, hopefully, as much as the time it doesn't feel like a good thing, it is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, okay, we're ready to grow. We're ready to grow. That means we're just, it's growing pain.
Yeah. So yes, it's painful to grow.
Yes, it can be painful to grow. Yeah. But worth it.
Yeah, it is worth it. And that was saying it's trying to reconnect. We have a question here.
Okay.
Taking good advice from this, and it has led to a sale of a book. Oh, you've made a sale?
Oh, wonderful! Yay.
On this live. That's really good.
That's really good. Thank you. Enjoy.
That was Paul Woods, but I don't know if we're still live. So how do some kind of ... self-deception as per situations as I stated? Well, let me just check. I've got a long question here.
Okay.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So while that's reconnecting, see
Who
what
is
that's
this asking the question?
Please post your name. It says enjoy it all. That's the username. Enjoy it all has asked. I have a question. As per time we gain the knowledge about the world, we get to know the people, current scenario of society, politics, environment, situation of animals, and much more things. So ultimately, we have become a pessimistic person. The more we'll know, the more we'll be sad. Many times we understand the situation but can't control. So how do some kind of ... self-deception as per situations as I stated? Do you understand the question?
I don't really.
Would you be able to ask a one-liner question just around what you've said? Because I think that you've given us a context, but please go to the point.
I like the context. But yeah, there's obviously an actual question there, which would be great to hear.
It's Rajan. I'm still trying to reconnect on Facebook. Hi, Rajan. So yeah, please ask the question. Just get to the point about the question, just so we know what we're answering here, because it was quite a long.
Yeah, there's good
part.
stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
We'll wait for that question to come through. Okay. But as I think we're still live over here, going back to, can we, as in, weed out those limiting beliefs, fears completely? That's one of the questions I want to ask.
Well, that's like the layers.
Yeah,
we're not meant to read them all out in one day.
Yeah,
it's like we weed out what we need.
Okay.
To be, we weed out whatever it is that's holding us back from doing what we're doing today.
Yeah.
From being who we are today, and that's why. Whereas if we sort of think I have to have every single issue dealt with, every limiting belief gone today. Yeah. We wouldn't be ready for that. We wouldn't be ready to be that person.
Okay.
For a start. Yeah. So it's like it's like when people are trekking through the forest, they don't weed the whole path and then yeah, because it is 3:05. So
yes. Yeah. I think I don't know what's happening live there, so we'll just wrap it up. So the question here is, so we have to say something to ourselves. I'm still not completely sure what the question is. Do you understand the question?
Yeah. So I think in terms of I think the person's talking about pessimism, and it's like that's when we maybe have to tune in more, spend more time. Like for example, if you spend more time in nature, you spend more time around animals, you won't get the same pessimistic message. Because balancing it out by looking for the more optimistic perspective, because it is there.
Hi, Facebook again. We're live on Facebook again.
Yeah, so we're going to sign off.
We're going to wrap it up just so we didn't just leave you like that.
Yeah.
But we're having some issue with the internet. We're finishing off answering a question on Instagram there.
Can I tell people about the Fringe by the Sea?
Yes.
So-
would you be able to repeat a part there? But I don't think it was live.
Okay.
About I asked you the question about can we weed out our limiting beliefs, fears, ego, completely, like as in a specific belief. But you suggested that we can't rip them all out at once.
Well, I think it's because it's more like, I know that there's people, I think Eckhart Tolle, for one, had an incredible experience where he was instantly changed. He was changed as a person instantly. I've had experience that has changed a huge amount about who I, how I saw the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt so transformational.
Okay.
But then you go into life again and you realize there's other things running, old beliefs running. And I think that that's how we're meant to then just deal with them one belief at a time, and not to think that until we get there and we've got every single limiting belief done, are we good enough? We're good enough now. We were always good enough. So it's the limiting beliefs don't make it bad. They just are things that that you're able to liberate yourself from. You were always good enough.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
Okay.
So it's only the ego would have you believe otherwise.
Yeah.
So that one you can get rid of.
Yeah.
You could say that every day. I'm good enough already.
I'm good enough already.
I'm good enough now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's you've answered the guy's question, Rajan's question there.
Cool.
So what to talk to ourselves? I think he's asking, like, what do we say to ourselves?
Yeah. You're good enough now.
Yeah, you're good enough.
You're good enough now. Yeah.
And just returning to that as well. For example, in your book, you said you don't feel stressed or anxious anymore. Not anymore, but as much as you did before.
Totally. Yeah, it's like I was just thinking about yesterday. I was working with another energy coach, and I had a memory of this incredible feeling of anxiousness, and it was a memory, and I could almost like see that young woman that I was and that young child, and so, but it meant that it was in there somewhere if I could feel it, but it's not something that it's almost such an old feeling that it feels so distant from me now. But there will be parts of me that need to be liberated from that too. So that's when energy work is very powerful, because even if you get a memory of something, it means maybe it's still juggling around and you can shift it. But the ego is part of our human. We have to be kind to the ego, compassionate to the ego, but it's like a naughty child, and we have to not let it rule our lives. So it's always there. There's an awareness. You can have an awareness, because obviously we wouldn't be able to be on this in this experience of a body without it. I don't think. But it's certainly, we don't have to. We can get to a place where we're not. It's not driving. It's not driving the car. Yes. It's in the back seat. We're the master. It's a slave in a way. It's like one way to say it. But it's, hopefully not slave. But we, as in, it's just part of the entourage. Yeah. Part of the entourage. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think we'll leave it there. Yes. I hope everyone got a lot of value from that. Fringe by the Sea. And yes, Bernie wanted to share what's going on at the Fringe by the Sea. So if any of you are planning to come to North Berwick on the 2nd to the 11th, we have a wonderful festival, Fringe by the Sea, and I'm being interviewed. I'm doing a meditation on Tuesday, the 6th of August at 11 a.m. So people can experience the meditation in the Spiegel tent. And then on Thursday, the 8th of August, I'm being interviewed by Amanda Hamilton and about my book. So we're having another live. You can go to Fringe by the Sea for that. It's a great festival that's been growing for about 10 years now. So it's wonderful. Cool. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. It's reconnecting again. Okay. Right, thank you for joining, everyone on Instagram as well. Yeah. It's like emotionalness. I feel have always been a great part of my thoughts. Okay. I hope we helped you with that, and if you do have any questions, follow Bernadette Petrie on Instagram and myself, and we'll try to. And people can get the book on Amazon. It's on Amazon right now. It can be with you tomorrow. Permission to share. Or via the website. Okay. Bye just now. Thanks.